What's up, Bikerumor fans? I'm Tyler, and I'm here with the all-new Specialized Crux. This used to be their cyclocross race bike. Now, it's their top gravel race bike. So we are here at Brown Mountain, North Carolina, home of the legendary Maple Sally Gravel Loop, which is the perfect testing ground for any gravel bike. It's got smooth, hard stuff that you can go super fast on. It's got climbs, it's got descents. It's got some really rough stuff that will test the limits of any bike. Let's just say I found the limits of this bike. We've got some excellent crash footage of that, so keep watching. I'm gonna go through the bike real quick, show off the frame and the tech details, and then we'll get out on the roads and see how it rides.
The new Crux borrows the straight tube shaping and design of their ultralight Aethos road bike, and it uses the same layup principles, relying on minimal carbon overlap and long sheets and fibers to get the strength it needs from the least amount of material. It comes in two versions, a 725 gram S-Works frame and the Pro level shown here that comes in just 100 grams heavier at 825 grams. Specialized says they're the lightest gravel bike frames in the world, and they took a few extra steps to achieve it. There are no fender or rack mounts on it, and no top tube bag mounts. There's a third bottle cage mount under the down tube, but that's about it. All models come with the same 400 gram S-Works level fork. The geometry is pure race, with a 10mm longer reach and short stack height to get the rider in a low, performance-oriented position. While they say it uses short stems, my size 58 test bike came with a 110mm stem. All the bikes come with a 27.2mm Revolve carbon seat post to add a bit of compliance, and all get some version of their very popular and very comfortable power saddle. The top models get the Revolve Terra carbon handlebar, which has a slightly flattened top section for better comfort, and all but the comp model gets SRAM access wireless groups. While focused on racing, they gave it the same 700 by 47mm or 650B by 2.1 inch tire clearance as the Diverge, so you can run big grippy tires on here to improve traction and comfort. All the bikes come with 700 by 38mm Pathfinder Pro tires though. They borrowed the stealthy recessed through axles and minimalist dropouts from the Aethos 2, and, thankfully, the threaded bottom bracket. All four models will come with SRAM 1x drivetrains, but the bike is compatible with electronic 2x groups, just with a few limitations on chainring gear combos. The Pathfinder Pro comes stock and is a decent tire for general mixed surface riding thanks to the fast center strip with gradually more aggressive tread on the way out to the edges. They're mounted up to Revolve Terra carbon wheels on all but the comp model, which really leaves you with little to upgrade on most builds. Okay, so how does it ride? In a word, fast. The new Crux is the bike that likes to go fast and makes you want to go fast, which makes sense for a race bike. It's comfortable for getting down and hammering the flats, charging the climbs, and just generally moving along quickly. I rode it on a variety of gravel surfaces, from the hard-packed, perfectly graded road you see here, to some loose, chunky stuff you'll see a little later. I even found myself climbing a little faster, which for me is kind of a big deal because that's never been my strong suit.
So a lot of times on a gravel race, especially like the ones in North Carolina where you have these kind of just ongoing climbs like that never seem to stop, and you go around the next corner and there's just more climbing to do. Those races are won on the climbs because anybody with some skills is going to descend pretty quickly, and this bike will descend pretty well too, but it's so light, and like the weight on the scale, 17 and almost a little over 17.5 pounds, it feels lighter than that, and it rides lighter than that in a lot of ways. Sprinting, I would get up and almost be lifting the rear end off the ground if I wasn't careful about keeping my weight balanced. But on these climbs where you're just grinding uphill for seemingly ever, it's a bike that almost sort of like begs you to just go one cog harder and just go a little bit faster. And you don't really feel like you're suffering so much for doing that. And that's good because it just means you're going to go even faster up the climbs and get them over with.
Because let's face it, getting to the top is usually just done so that we can rip the downhills. And rip them we did, even though the roads got considerably rougher. The biggest thing I noticed about the Crux's handling on the descents is that it's just a little fluttery, by which I mean it's surprising how stiff a bike this light can be. Even though I was comfortable up top, it's pretty clear the bike is skipping and floating over rougher terrain. Watch as I roll through these corners and you'll see that it skips around just a little bit. I'm not complaining because it's not that hard to control it, but it definitely requires more attention on rough terrain to maintain traction and keep it headed in the right direction. Notice the small micro corrections I'm having to make to hold my line, and that's with the tires set up at 35 and 40 psi. Honestly, I'd probably go a little bit lower if the whole day was on these rough sections, but this felt like a good compromise for the mixed surfaces we rode. And there's the wreck. Let's watch that again. I'm pretty sure it's a combination of that rock and me going too fast that caused this. So it's hard to blame the bike, but it happened. Here's the rest, frame by frame, purely for your entertainment. Don't worry, Spesh, the bike didn't get a scratch on it. Any race bike is going to need to be able to translate your power into forward motion, and the new Crux doesn't miss a beat. Every pedal stroke feels like it's going straight into propulsion. When it's not on rough terrain, it holds the line quite well, and really was a joy to ride, which is saying a lot for a bike that's built specifically for racing. I really like the Roval handlebar. The flare is subtle, but I could transfer my hands from the hoods to the drops quickly and easily, and remain comfortable in both positions, which is good because it definitely helped cornering to get low and weight the front tire more. The Supercaz Sticky Cush bar tape is a nice touch too. So that's the new Crux. You know, if there's one word that I kept thinking over and over again of how I would describe this bike, it's wispy. So it's not twitchy, it's not fragile, it's plenty tough. Like I could go really fast through this stuff, but it's just so light that it's not something that you really want to rip through the trendery stuff. For that, they have the Diverge with the Future Shock. Despite the really thin legs on the fork, this thing is like, there was not a lot of compliance coming out of that. So when you hit that, the chundery stuff and those washboards, like you felt all of it. And I think that's what caused me to wreck. And the fact that I came into them way too hot, and there's really no side knobs on these tires for something like that. So this is the bike where maybe it's, the adage is go slow to go fast when you hit those sections, but for all the rest of it, it's so light and fast that you make up all of that time on the flats and the climbs, especially on the climbs. So if you're looking for a race bike where you don't mind taking it a little bit easy on some of the descents and just hammering the rest of the time, the new Specialized Crux is definitely worth a look. If you like this and you want more great bike reviews and tech videos, hit like, hit subscribe, and if you want to see the actual weights and all the tech specs for this, hit the links in this video's description, and be sure to check out the full review on bikerumor.com. Just search for the word Crux. Thanks a ton for watching. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and try not to do that.